So this is the very late part A, dated the 4th of July 2021. And the reason is that the lying Fleet Street has been in denial about the real importance of political news. They've got a apparent kind of legitimacy in running the overhyped claim of England being in dreamland over the football, and the gullibles that Fleet Street liars target are quite plausibly glued themselves to the lying output by the Brexiteering racist deniers that England is on the verge of taking over the world. It's the mentality of imperialism that the criminals feed. And that's what is happening. With the overhyped celebration that is going on right now, even into the few minutes of Monday, the 5th of July. But what we are doing is going to concentrate on the implications of the Fleet Street lies and liars about Batley and Span, and we are going to take a look in the first part, which will be broadcasting shortly after this very brief introduction. And this one is just done for the records. This is part A of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel, broadcast from London in the UK within quotation marks. And this is dated and timed 23:55 hours GMT on Sunday, the 4th of July, 2021. One of the things that we have included in the examination is the corrupt Sky News employing Trevor Terrible Phillips as a presenter. I mean, this is most likely due to the internal arrangements at Sky News, where Sophie Regis has been temporarily replaced by the mental slave and liar Trevor Terrible Phillips on Sky News. Now, why we are focusing on him? Because the question that he put to Rachel Reeves, and we are doing this as world exclusive diagnosis of that one as well. The question he put to Rachel Reeves was, did she think that the people who voted for George Galloway at Batley and Span also believed in hate, that she had accused Galloway of spewing? Now, the answer to that, as Rachel Reeves gave, didn't match the question. But the answer we exclusively give is this. And this is a brief form and version of the answer. that is warranted. Rachel Reeves talked about George Galloway. Rachel Reeves didn't talk about a single individual voter that voted for George Galloway. So therefore, practically, she could not address that question because she doesn't know who to ask that question and how to get the answer as to why they voted for Galloway. So it's a logistical impossibility. Secondly, Trevor Terrible Phillips was asked that question, asked Rachel Reeves that question as part of the agenda, the narrative. If the question could be answered, then Rachel Reeves would have needed time, which Trevor Phillips would never give her in the framework of the actual broadcast. And it is impossible to know who were the people voted for. This will require several changes to the law of broadcasting, law of election, Representation of the People Act, disclosure of the intentions of the voters. This is supposed to be a secret ballot, you moron. So Rachel Reeves should have answered by saying that you are asking the wrong question. It doesn't follow from what I have said against George Galloway inciting hatred. It's a secret ballot. So the question that you can ask me about Galloway's intention cannot be transferred equally or extrapolated to apply to the voters who did vote for him, but whose identity remains secret, not as a result of my action, but as a result of the law, you moron. Trevor Terrible Phillips told his own biological brother, one of his brothers, and his older brother, that is, Mike Phillips, "Shut up, Mike." At an event I observed for evidence, an event that was held at the Friends Meeting House in Euston in central London in the 1980s. And the event was being chaired by Trevor Terrible Phillips, the nephew Tom, because that was the job he had been doing as a result of the British state appointing him as the official nephew Tom. Nephew Tom, who had the job of dissing black people. Black people in the context of racism, of course, includes people from the rest of the world, people who are not of Anglo-Saxon or Western European DNA white background. And that meeting had the purpose of exonerating the racist editor of the Sunday Telegraph at that time of racism. And that editor was sitting next to the Trevor Terrible Phillips. And the appearance was given that a black-skinned man was not agreeing with most black people when most black people recall and refer to and state the operation of individual, institutional, organizational racism in this country. So Trevor Terrible Phillips is not somebody who is justifiably appointed to present any program about the various factors at play during the Battalion Span by-election. Because quite apart from insulting his own biological elder brother, Mike Phillips, Trevor Terrible Phillips, I'm making a distinction in his name. His name is not Phillips. Mike Phillips is justifiably okay in being referred to as Mike Phillips, but Trevor Terrible Phillips is not, because he's a de facto, intentional, brainwashed moron and complicit with the program of presenting racism. Now, no one could demand legally of the people in charge of controlling the operation of the election, the voting, the counting, that they should disclose, they should be told as to who voted for who. The numbers alone are recorded in the legal framework of publishing and recording the voting. We shall be going on into more details about Trevor Terrible Phillips' stupid question, and in the context and topically, evidentially, the unfitness for purpose as a leading spokesperson in the name of the Labour Party, as fronted by Keir, the racist liar Starmer, who is unfit. Contrary to what Ken Lying Still Livingston said endorsing Keir Starmer, what the mainstream media in Britain is saying now, including the suggestion they're peddling that Keir Starmer probably is the next Tony Blair. They are saying it. I'm not saying it. I'm rejecting it by saying or asking or posing the question, is Keir Starmer the next Tony Blair? They are suggesting that the landslide in numerical terms election win by the Labour Party in May 1997 might be about to be repeated in the next election if one is held in 2023. Well, that will not happen because Keir Starmer is imitating the Tories in the propaganda, whereas Mandelson and Alistair Campbell, who had been working in an unprecedented way, electorally and propaganda-wise, the rapid rebuttal operation in the context of every statement made by the Conservatives was being rapidly rebutted on behalf of the imminent incoming Labour opposition, which was incoming government in the 2 years prior to the 1997 election. That simply is not available, and that cannot be available because the Labour Party has been politically murdered by Keir Starmer. The Labour Party was not politically murdered by Tony Blair in that sense in those years. Labour Party had been put on the sickbed various times by Michael Foot, by Neil Kinnock, and John Smith didn't have enough time to come across as what he was doing overall to the Labour Party politically. So when he died of a heart attack, he was succeeded by Tony Blair as the leader. And Blair didn't suffer the adverse attacks aimed at the, quote, Labour Party by the conservative and the lying Fleet Street media and the broadcasting media as well. So there are too many things that are not similar between the Labour Party in opposition in the years before the 1997 election and the Labour Party now, which is dead politically because the person who is supposed to be the leader of the Labour Party has murdered the Labour Party politically. And as an illustration of that murder, he has appointed Rachel Reeves as the shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer, and her first key statement about the British economy has been to give contracts to British companies and entrepreneurs. That's in conflict itself. It's a contradictory thing. Because what she's doing is, of course, imitating the Brexiteering narrative of the Conservatives, who are desperately seeking contracts with economies as far away as Australia, because the substantive economic activity and the operations cannot be established within the framework of Brexit because they are outside of the European Union, which was the major source of economic contracts and activities and relationships. And to imagine that a contract with Australia would replace or substantially replace the loss caused by Brexit to the British economy is like saying that we can wait 1,000 times for the economy to work at the normal speed. And the disastrous bid by the congenital liar Boris Johnson to have any economic links with India is doomed to fail. Again, time lapse and other factors. And we are not even talking about the Indian variant of the COVID-19 that has completely smashed the latest serial efforts by the lying Boris Johnson to parade potential economic relations with India as substitutes for the loss of business due to and by and brought about by, as predicted by all rational critics and opponents of Brexit, over India. And the negotiations don't even begin until later this year. And any actual positive that is actual in the sense of actual real kind of benefit cannot be available for measurement until a few years from now. So Rachel Reeves is being completely ignorant and stupid to talk about giving priority to British business. British business is dysfunctioning. Workers have been forced to leave the UK because of Brexit, not because of COVID-19, you lying morons in Fleet Street who are putting that line. That workers have left Britain because of COVID-19. They haven't. It's Brexit. And only Brexit that has done that. So we shall be talking more about all of that. Because Sajid Javid is being given a platform by the Mail on Sunday, saying idiotic things about the economy. He's saying the economic arguments for opening up are well known, but for me, the health case is equally compelling. You stupid moron, that is not true. There is Brexit there, you idiot. And this idiot supposedly had voted for the UK to remain in the European Union. And yet he became converted. And the Mail on Sunday is stupidly saying that the long march back towards normal life is nearing its end. It's not. Because the warning given today during Sunday, that is, we are just into a few minutes into Monday, but the warnings given during Sunday by all the experts, or the majority of the experts, about the COVID-19 is that the virus is spreading faster. Now, here is the poisonous son of Glenda Jackson. Well, we are not blaming her for his poison, but he was servile to Theresa May. He has been servile to Boris Johnson, and now he's staging a servile role to Starmer, and he's saying now Starmer must kick out Corbyn and put Angela in charge of paperclips. Now that would be completely stupid. Starmer is being told by the Conservative propaganda unit to destroy even the corpse of the Labour Party that Starmer, has politically murdered. So we shall be talking more about all of this in the first part of Monday, the 5th of July, part A.